Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Today, we talk about the Eric Johnson Virginia Stratocaster, but before we dig into this thing, I just wanted to let you guys know I'm doing pretty much daily polls in my community section, so you guys can vote for what the next upcoming episodes might be. For example, today I had a different video planned, but you guys said you wanted another Fender, so we're gonna dive into Eric Johnson territory today. We are talking about a model that was released for the 2020 lineup. I know I'm a little bit late on this, but it took a while for me to get one of these things. But Eric Johnson is just a guitar virtuoso. But this is a recreation of his very favorite 1954 Fender Stratocaster. And this is the Fender USA version. They also did a custom shop edition in their Stories collection. That's like master built. I think it was Carlos that did his. But take a look at this thing. It might not look like it's super special at first. And I'll be honest, this one's been sitting in my to-review pile for a couple of months, and I didn't even realize all the changes that he had made to this thing. The only thing I remembered about Virginia is it has a Sassafras body. So the whole story behind this guitar, as told by Eric Johnson in the Fender video, is he got this guitar through a trade. He was just at his local guitar shop. He fell in love with this thing because he just saw it sitting in the corner. Somebody had brought it in. They needed a new pickup or something like that. And he ended up contacting the owner and was like, hey, are you selling that old guitar? Like, he didn't know it was a 54 at that particular point in time. And the guy said, no, it was actually my grandpa's guitar. It's just in there for getting repaired. But, you know, if you got a really sweet Gibson to trade me, I might consider doing that. So Eric, just like I would do, went out and found him the guitar that he actually wanted and traded it. And he got this thing. And apparently it had some modifications to it and whatnot. But he ended up falling in love with this thing. But at one point in time, it actually got damaged. And they had to do some repairs, and it just never quite sounded the same. So he went through a couple of other Stratocasters, and he's like, yeah, there's nothing quite the same about these things. What was so special about this particular one? And his guitar tech told him, hey, did you know this has a Sassafras body? And he had no idea. Apparently Fender in 53 and 54, Leo Fender got some Sassafras in and made some tellies and strats and stuff with it. I don't know too much about that. That's just repeating the story that Mr. Johnson said that was told to him. That's the whole reason why I wanted to document this thing. Sassafras body. I mean, it feels just like a regular Strat. It looks just like a regular Strat. It's not necessarily something crazily special, but apparently it affects the tone at least a little bit, even if it's just a placebo effect. It's something that makes this guitar interesting. And it got the name Virginia because the people who were putting these guitars together at the time, they would put their name on like the pick guard, like on a piece of tape, and this one just happened to say Virginia, so he called this one Virginia ever since he took it apart and saw that. So I'm really interested in, doing a deep dive on this one. There's a few other changes that you'll want to know about this one. Like, you can see one right there. But first impressions, it's just a really nice USA-made Stratocaster. They're rather expensive, $2,500 but, it's Eric Johnson. Of course you want his guitar, right? But it does come with a deluxe hardshell case. It's the old tweed style, a beautiful red interior. Let's see, do we get any type of strap or anything? Kind of surprised to not see anything. Yeah, it's just all our basic stuff and a basic little certificate of authenticity. Oh, they did change it up a little bit. It says EJ for Eric Johnson on the back, just like they have it on the neck plate there. Oh, and it's one of those rinky-dinky ones. So let's go ahead and throw this guy on the workbench, take an individual look at its parts and specs, and explain the electronics here. Man, I can't believe just how many specs were changed on this guitar. I didn't even realize it ordering this guitar. I'm really glad I decided to do the review, even though it's kind of an old model at this point. I'm going to go ahead and say it. This just might be the Gibson's Player Strat, because we'll get to that on the neck. But first, let's talk about this. So, it's a two-piece Sassafras body, as we learned in the unboxing segment. But reading into the description, they actually did an offset two-piece body, just to, make it vintage correct. Now, in my opinion, they did a really good job matching this, but I think the seam line is right here. That's where it doesn't quite match. And that would line up with the description of it being offset. But you really, I would, if I wasn't told this was a 2-piece body, I probably would have just thought it was 1 piece. But inside the control cavities, we get our regular barcodes in here. Get an interesting little L-shaped route. I haven't torn apart any 50s Fenders, so I don't know how much of this is accurate to a 54 or not, but having the Sassafras body is kind of cool. I was hoping we would get like a different smell out of this, but honestly it's just finished over in lacquer, so you don't even smell a difference. But the whole idea behind the Stories series of guitars is they didn't want to just create, oh, this guy had a 54 Strat, let's do it. They wanted to capture the stories and all the mods. So in his original one, he had later 50s electronics and a DiMarzio pickup in the bridge. So what they've done for this one is they have 2 vintage style pickups here. They call them the 57 and the 62 single coil. It looks like that's supposed to say EJ for Eric Johnson and then Virginia on the pickup. I was really upset to not see, that little Virginia somewhere in here outside of like the barcode stickers and right there. I think that was kind of a missed opportunity, but our bridge pickup is very fascinating. So it's a DiMarzio DP116, which in layman's terms is the HS2 pickup. So this is actually a humbucker in a single coil format. But what makes it interesting is Mr. Johnson has actually deactivated one of the coils, so it's technically just a single coil, and he's got it wired in reverse polarity, so out of phase. So that was kind of a quirky little feature of his original. And they also played with the potentiometers here. So this guy right here is a 250K, as is this one, but I think this one's actually supposed to be a 500K. I think he said it was supposed to range like 350 to 400 or something like that. So he's definitely done some modifications there. And I like that little capacitor that we got there. It kind of looks like a phone book. I could be wrong, but it looks like they just didn't even put that other coil in this. So it's not like just deactivated and you could put it back in. I think they just specially made these for this or removed that. I don't know. I don't know enough about pickups to really take it apart and be comfortable that I didn't destroy it. But then our saddle here, you're probably going to wonder, well, what's going on here? We get 5 vintage style saddles, but then Eric was saying that he wasn't getting enough tone out of his high E string, so he swapped out the saddles to kind of fatten it up. So it's kind of like a balancing act between all these other ones. He just felt that these Graphtec saddles better suited it for that. So that's what he did for this Stories Collection Virginia Strat. As far as the output jack, nothing too crazy here, but you can see inside the cavity there. And before we go any further, let's get our resistance. So 8.08 for the bridge pickup. Now just our middle is 5.32. Then just the neck, about the same, 5.33. So I think this is where things will get interesting. 2.68 and 3.23. So having that hotter bridge pickup is definitely going to be interesting. That was another thing he was saying. He needed just a little bit more out of his bridge, so I think that's why he swapped that out. But now you're probably curious, why am I saying this is the Gibson Player's Stratocaster? Take a look at this. Do you guys notice anything different about this whole fretboard situation here? Those are massive frets, and I saw that as soon as I took this thing apart. It's like, whoa! For a Stratocaster, those things are big, and they're advertised on Fender's website as jumbo frets. And apparently this is something that his luthier did to this guitar, because he said, hey, these things are going to play better if we flatten out the fretboard and get you bigger frets. So, believe it or not, most vintage style Strats, 7¼ inch radius, you might find a 9.5 for modern playability, but this guy has the Gibson radius, 12 inches. So this is a rather flat feeling fretboard as compared to, most vintage Strats. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Big frets, flat. Some people like that. Other people would be like, why would I want a Strat like that? So our neck profile here is 1.63 inches at the nut and 2.02 by the 12th. So a little bit skinnier feeling that. And it is labeled as a soft V neck shape. So first fret neck depth, we get 0.97. That's actually pretty chunky and consistent, 0.1 by the 12th. So if you like those kind of slightly fuller feeling necks, it's definitely not a hard V, but it's very rounded. So it's not necessarily massive because it doesn't have the shoulders to it. You mainly get those big readings because the back of the neck sticks up a little bit more. I think it feels pretty comfortable though. It just kind of fills up that empty space in your hand. As far as the headstock, nothing too fancy here except for our string tree. They did something with that.
They put a little nylon spacer there. It's supposed to help it so you don't have to use the string tree as much or something like that he was talking about. And just like the old Strats, you adjust it at the butt end of the neck. Moving on to the backside, probably a good time to remind you guys, this is a complete gloss nitro finish all over this guitar. We're talking body, neck, fretboard, all that. So this will age and check and do all that other good stuff that you like Stratocasters doing. So that's another premium feature here. But take a look at this. Stock from the factory, we get 4 springs on here, and that's a really nice thick block. And yes, a magnet does stick to that if you're curious. But other than that, nothing too fancy back here. Just a nice little sunburst color, regular Strat buttons in your usual locations, 4 bolt-on neck. They personalized it with his initials EJ, and you get your serial number VA, likely standing for Virginia, and then I would guess that's how many they made, so this is like the 705th. But here's what the backside of the neck looks like here. You get the skunk stripe and all that. And this one, you know, it's not a flamed maple neck like if you get the custom shop version one. They've got flame everywhere on that guy. But, you know, this one's not too bad. It's got some light figuring. It's nothing that I would call, you know, hey, this thing's super flamed. But, you know, it's got a little bit of interestingness to it. No serial number on the back. Vintage style Kluson tuners. This one is good to go. It's kind of a chunky Stratocaster. I mean, it's got a good weight to the body. We'll have to grab that real quick. And the answer to that question is 8 pounds, 2.6 ounces. As far as QC goes, everything looks and sounds pretty good here, but once again, even on a USA Fender, I'm getting the whole nut slot thing. I mean, listen to this. It's caused when they don't have it completely flat in the nut. It's mainly the 2nd and 3rd string. So I'll have to go through and file those nut slots a little bit. There we go. All that's done. I do want to say the frets feel fantastic. So let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how this modified Stratocaster sounds and see how it plays. I'm quite intrigued. I'm no Eric Johnson in the playing department, so I'll just kind of walk you through this one with some basic chords and stuff. Can't say it's my favorite tone, but it works in certain situations. So if you like your 4th position of these two, maybe not get this guitar, or just reverse the polarity on them so it doesn't do that anymore. That's kind of interesting. So now we got the bridge and middle together. Cool, now we'll switch over to our bridge position, which should be pretty hot sounding. It's hot, but yet still sounds a bit thin. I hope that gives you an idea of the clean tones. Now we'll switch over to some distorted. So what are my final thoughts on the Eric Johnson Stratocaster here from the Stories collection? Virginia. I don't think this would be the Strat for everyone. I mean, it's got really big frets. It's a rather flat fretboard, so if you don't like that, you probably wouldn't be in love with this. It's got some quirky specs. I mean, the middle position between the first and second pickups here, not going to be for every situation. But I mean, as far as a quality guitar, yes, it's good enough for that. If you're a fan of Eric Johnson, yes, you're going to pay a premium for his name. But I mean, when I think Stratocaster, he's one of the first guys that comes to my mind anyways. So of course you're going to pay a premium for that. But $2,500 USA made, really highly spec'd out. It's up to you whether that's worth it or not. But I hope this video helps you make an informed decision. Besides the nut issue that I corrected, I didn't see anything else that I would call bad quality. But as far as like my favorite Stratocaster ever, nah, I'm sorry, Eric. It's not quite my favorite one. I think I would still prefer my blue sandblasted one as my main Strat. So, troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed checking out the Stories Collection Virginia with me today. It was a lot of fun diving into this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.